There we go. Okay, guys. So this I'm redoing. It's unfortunate. My last video I did, I think 2 days ago or yesterday, I forget, cut off. So I'm redoing this. The only unfortunate part is that I just got to do the whole thing again. And the other one was really good. So, but it happens sometimes. So we're just going to do this again because I really think it's important that the information I'm downloading, researching, and actively using gets out because this is the time of the divine feminine. Sophia is here. Please read up on Sophia, on what her message was for me that she delivered to me. Sophia is the counterpart to God. It's a dual world. There isn't just a male God. There's a male, female, male, female duality makes the whole, right? So Sophia is here and she's like, we have to rise in our femininity, right? And what that means, which does not mean that you're not strong. So, in that light, I've really been guided to do some stuff. So I have two things about this. One is about dating in the divine feminine and some things I wanted to relate that have been very interesting when you're tapping into your divine feminine and doing on the dating scene, how it makes you sort of an amazing, attractive person. Because remember, being in the feminine's like attractive. So I'm not just talking physically, I'm talking literally energetically. Like, honestly, at this point, like, I expect, dressed up or not, it's an energy thing that you're emitting that, like, there's going to be someone who's like, hi, and they don't know what it is. And you know, it's the power of your feminine energy that's attracting them. And they're just like moth to a flame. And that's really awesome. So I want to share that with you. And the other part is like, average does get the millionaire. So it's just sort of funny. I'll start with that one first, and I did it in the other video as well. I want to start with that one because there was this video that went viral of this horrible low vibrational man telling a woman who was a six-figure earner and said she wanted a six-figure earner that she wanted a six-figure man. He was like, "You have a baby, right? You rated yourself a 5. Oh, you should only get an average man who like works at a car shop." I don't know. He was just dogging her out, acting like because she wasn't a 10 or a model and she had a son from a previous marriage that there was no hope for her to get a six-figure man. And I'm just like, oh my God. It's a little embarrassing. So you guys know my other platform. I'm a real estate investor. So, I mean, for some of us and for some of you, six figures is nothing. That is normal. That is the guy who called me the other day who wanted help, who signed up for my coaching class, who makes 125 and lives in New York. It's not that big a deal. It is quite common. And yes, they'll talk to you if you have a wife, if they like you and enjoy your company. And so it's funny because like right now I'm talking to one commercial broker and he is a millionaire. And before, for the last 3 months, I actually broke it off with another guy I was dating and he's a millionaire down in, Norfolk. So it's fun. And I am not the most beautiful person. There are people much prettier than me. There are people who are skinnier than me. And I'm just saying this and putting myself out there to just go, look, like, what it really depends is your circle. Are you around these type of people who make these high earning figures? I'm around real estate investors. I have built a platform on real estate investors. I talk to real estate investors of all colors from all over the world, okay, who have a lot of money, anywhere 50, 60, 70, 100, 500. That is my circle, right? Because I built this platform and because that's the world I'm in. So it wouldn't be surprised that I would date a couple of them a year and they are high earners, and that's not a weird thing. I do not need to be beautiful. Like, it's so funny because it's just like most guys might think I'm average. My ex-husband thought I was beautiful. All the boyfriends I've dated thought I was beautiful. You don't need to be 100% to anyone else. Like, I'm laughing because I'm just like, oh my God. So if you're manifesting and you want to manifest a millionaire, like, manifest it, sis. You want to manifest a six-figure, manifest it. Now I'm going to say something. If you don't feel like you're worth a six-figure man or a millionaire, then you're not going to get it. Now, if you've been watching me for any length of time, you know I have no problems with self-worth. Doesn't mean it's, my self-love is like the perfect or anything like that, but I generally feel that I'm good And if you don't like me, that's a problem with you, not me, even though I try to be open to see if I can improve. And just generally, like, I feel like on the inside, I'm a very powerful person who is deserving of respect and admiration. And that's how I carry myself. So if guys approached me who were low vibrational or try to say I should or shouldn't act a certain way, they wouldn't get any time of day, because I'm just like, who are you to try to tell me or try to lower my value and worth to make yourself feel good? No, like instinctive radar. So if you feel like you can't get one, you can't. If you feel like you can, you can. It honestly is around that. But so that's one part. But the other part's just like your network, right? If there's a doctor's office and you're always at where they hang out and you're always dressed up cute and you go to where the doctors go to happy hour every night, well, guess what? That is now your circle, right? Like eventually you're going to meet them and talk to them because they're going to see you all the time. You're going to see them all the time. And that's your circle. So honestly, it's more about that than anything else. And I wanted to put it out there because, depending on if you align with a certain circle, it's not that big a deal. I know this one girl says she goes to LinkedIn and checks out where all the CEOs are and find out what CEO conferences there are. And she goes to the CEO conference, right? Like, come on, it's your network. Now, of course, when she goes, she dresses nice and puts on her makeup. And if she's really practicing her feminine charm, she knows how to walk and twitch those little hips. She got her little, for me, it's pencil skirt or sheath dress on. She got her hair done. She's wearing some nice, cute makeup, some perfume they can smell when she walks by. Now she's doing the other things to make herself attractive. Now, if she was going to go a step further like Lisa would, she would have burnt herself a little incense, set an intent that, like, all the guys at the conference want to date her or something like that. It can be broad, or it should be like 5 guys come and approach me and want to date me at this conference, right? So if she would have done that extra attraction power and did the physical beauty, like, you can go there and score and settle, right? And so I'm saying this for all the women out there who don't think that they're good enough. If that's what you think, that's what you think, right? But if you walk around and you really go, you know what, why not me? Like why not? And you're around these people, all of a sudden that dollar sign and price tag isn't intimidating, because you're like, yeah, I'm around doctors. What? This guy like snorts cocaine off of like bathroom stalls. Like, he's not that impressive, right? When you're okay, that's a weird example, but I don't know. It could be pretty possible. But like, oh yeah, like this guy, he has a beer belly. This guy has like extreme emotional potential. Just because you make money doesn't mean that you're perfect. So like, get it out of your head, especially Black women. And I'm just gonna say this for Black women: like, date outside. All right, like you never lower who you are, never lower your standards unless you want to, right? But there's something to be said for being hypergamous. I'm not super into that. You can look it up if you need to, but there's something to be said for that, as everybody elevating up when you do that. Everybody has to elevate up. The men who may not have been doing as much are like, oh man, if I need to get someone, I need to work super hard, right? And then they come up because you came up in your standards. So remember that can happen as well. So I wanted to get that out the way, but then I wanted to go into, actually wrote notes on this, on divine feminine and dating, and some things to remember. So there's a guy, and you and your divine feminine energy or feminine energy, there's a couple of things that you can do. So I'm going to keep saying this. The ultimate primordial, where we came from as a being before we got caught up in this 3D dimension, primordial energy of male, female, was the woman sits and observes. She feels. She expresses how she feels. The guy hears that. He either provides or disregards or comes up with another solution. And then the woman receives what that is. So it's, I feel, he provides, I receive, right? And I also heard that there's like a study where like the more you provide for someone, the more like they fall in love with you. There's like a bond that goes every time you give to someone, but the person who receives, the bond doesn't go the other way, right? So the fact that it was, I feel, he provides, I receive. And it's funny because it wasn't until I started this last year and a half on this divine feminine journey, I never really understood that like it's okay for a guy to just want to provide for you. Assuming you're in your feminine energy, which they are, it's a drug. Like they are, like they become drug addicts to feminine energy, right? So that's why you have these stories of these prostitutes, right? Or who have these Johns who come back every week, and sometimes they don't even have sex, and it's not because she's the prettiest prostitute in the world, it's because she's feminine, and he goes to her and she's basically warm, and she tells her how she feels, and he, because she expresses how she feels and she gives them space, and she's not reactionary, she's observed. So when they do, and we're going to talk about that later, about being able to observe without reacting to everything and taking some time in stillness, and because he can be himself and maybe make a mistake, and she'll just gently let him know, and he feels so comfortable. He'll go back to that prostitute. The prostitute is a little overweight. She's not that cute. There's people way hotter and attractive, but he's not going to her just because of her physical looks. He's going because these women know how to be very feminine, right? And she gets these guys coming back, recurring clients week after week, day after day, because these guys don't know it, but they're addicted to that feminine energy. And that is the energy I've been investing in, which I want to talk about in the dating world, how it's absolutely amazing. And so you got to understand, I'm magical. I come at things from like, I think in terms of energy or spiritual growth and evolution, right? And I'm like, okay, my spiritual growth and evolution is to really get in contact with the divine feminine, spiritually, physically, and in relationship wise, right? And so I came like, that's my path. Now I find the more that I dig into these things that I've been, my spirit guides showed me that this is what I need to focus on too. And so the last year and a half, it's been pretty accelerated. And so I do things very strategic. Like, if I grow in this spiritually, I find it helps the rest of my life. So the more spiritual growth I have, the more my life looks the way I want it to look. And so I started doing this, and it's just, at this point, like I'm outside of my yard. I've lived in this house for 2 years. There are people who go by my house every day because you can walk to the grocery store, which is like 1 block away. So everyone walks. And since I've been really implementing my feminine energy, it's interesting because it went from people who would ignore me if I'm outside, maybe I'm putting something in the garbage or just cleaning something up, who would just ignore me, maybe I'd say hi, who are stopping to talk, and they don't know why they're stopping to talk. Now I do. I know the more I practice being in my feminine, I'm exuding an energy of femininity. And it's interesting because they're not right next to me. They're like a yard, like, I'm here across the lawn. And all of a sudden, this is consistent. Like, men are like, okay, I just want to sit and talk to you. And it's very interesting because if you've been here for 2 years and they've been walking by for 2 years and y'all never talk, and all of a sudden they're smiling at you, you're like, okay. That is the power of feminine attraction energy. Now, if your vibration is high and you really do have a self-worth about you, that means the signal you emit is even higher. Now, I also do a lot of my angelic healings, which has really cleansed my energy, activated DNA. It has elevated my ability to hold a higher frequency. So if I emit a frequency, I emit a strong frequency. I emit a frequency, but that is the divine feminine to attract. So just keep in mind that it's all this divine feminine, the things that I tell you, it is matched with warmth and compassion and keeping space. And we're going to talk about that because what I'm learning as I practice this, like being in my feminine energy, is how do you open with warmth when you talk? Like every time they talk to you, how do you like find that one nice thing to say? And if every time, and it's funny because it's making my relationships with women better. So now I'm reprogramming myself where I'm automatically going, okay, thank you so much for putting this meeting together. Like no one said I went to a meeting for my service organization. And, normally I don't care. But now I'm like, oh my gosh, like I want to let her know that thank you so much for this and show her appreciation and warmth. And so she responded really well. And I'm like, oh, normally I don't take the time to do that. But I'm reprogramming in my feminine energy to have warmth. And what does that mean? That is finding those little things. So I'm actually finding with women, it's interesting. And some women are really masculine. So I'm a very strong person. So don't get that twisted. You don't build a multi-6-figure business You don't build a real estate investing platform. You don't become a bestseller without having some strength that you can rely on in many, many ways, physical, mental, emotional, right? Because a lot of people told me how I should or shouldn't be, okay? They all learned the hard way. You don't tell Lisa what her place is. Lisa determines that. And I'm telling you, a lot of people, there's a lot of dead bodies, a lot of dead coworkers who found out, right? You know what I mean? So, I want to get into this and talk about, and I'm just talking about my strength because I'm really going into my femininity when it comes to relationships and other relations, not just with men, but with women. I'm finding it's really elevating that dynamic as well in a way I've never seen before. But, the reason I'm telling you this is because being part of the feminine is sitting back and letting the man provide and letting them lead, right? And so I wanted to be like, look, don't think I'm not a submissive person, but when I talk to men and masculine women, there is a level of, instead of me having to take charge, I can sit back, observe, and let them lead, and just sit and observe and see how the things go instead of having to do it. And that's part of it. And I'm starting to bring that into a lot of places. And it's very interesting how it's very disarming in business and with women and with men. So I'm definitely, as the more I'm in this feminine energy, I'm definitely sitting back in stillness and observance and being in touch with how I feel. Is this okay? Is this not okay? Are you uncomfortable? And getting more comfortable expressing that, but also finding when you express things in terms of your feelings, it's really disarming for people who are coming at you with this very masculine, like maybe you say something and they're on an attack and you're deflecting it. And it's an interesting world to be in. So if the man is leading a very, very, very strong woman and you're following their lead, what does that mean for you being in your feminine energy? Being in your divine feminine energy, meaning you have to vet very carefully. And this is so many relationship issues go wrong because there are different types. There are men who are very masculine in their energy and men who are very feminine in their energy, right? And we've gotten this mixed up and we get out of our femininity when we're asking them, do you want me to come over? We're asking them, well, how do you feel? We're asking them, do you want commitment? We're like, hey, let me call you. Let me pursue you. Let me shoot my shot. And it's like, no, don't do any of that. They work for you, right? You are the person that if they're a masculine man, they don't want you chasing them. The chase isn't sexy to someone who's a hunter. They're the hunters. They want to try to catch you, right? And once they catch you, don't make it easy for them. So it's very interesting when you put it in terms of like hunter and prey. And so your biggest thing is just to vet properly. So if you're vetting these people, you need to see, is this a guy that makes me want to work? Or is this the guy who can provide in that masculine role? Or does this guy make me come out of my feminine, which is laid back, just being in my feeling, and make me do and fight and this and that, taking you into this masculine energy? And so you need to vet properly and making sure you're getting the masculine energy guy. And trust, believe, they are all out there. I'm actually quite surprised when I do start talking in terms of feelings, like I'm excited or I was uncomfortable or I didn't like that. Because I'm really comfortable talking about what I don't like or what I'm unhappy about as much as I like talking about what I am happy about, right? So I open with warmth, but I'm also okay with talking about the negative things. And it's interesting when you could show that vulnerable side of you guys, which is being in your eminent feminine. Feminine is being in that energy, how it opens them right up to just start talking about their feelings. I was quite surprised. Like I have these super masculine men, they're like, well, I feel that next time you should take the time to ask me first before assuming. Just so calm and so feeling and emotive. And these are not feminine men, but when you are that feminine energy, that's the one place these men feel comfortable expressing their emotions. And you're not there to be the therapist, but that's the one place. And then you start seeing the ability for men who are closed off and stoic start getting their own emotional healing out because they found this one place with you. They can express it in a very loving way where they're completely safe and supported. So that's really interesting. Like all of these are like, I'm going through this and like I'm seeing like the changes and I'm like, oh my God, this has been granted to us this whole time if I knew how to tap into my feminine energy and just lean back. And it's interesting how some men are in their feminine and they can't get out of it. They want you to do everything. They want to be chased, right? But if you're chasing a man, I learned this at a young age because I was one of those girls who was developed by like 10, right? Like I had to get a bra at like 8, like, so I had curves at like 10, 11, 12. And so I always knew that like all the neighborhood boys, especially I was in a low income neighborhood, they were trying to get it left and right. You know what I mean? I was like hiding it at some points with baggy clothes. I was not about to walk around there in tight clothes. I just wasn't. And that's when from a young age. And what I learned from that was like, I mean, everybody will take it. That does not mean they want you, right? So learning that from a young age, it was like, okay. So so growing up, it's like that, but like tapping into divine femininity, it's like if you're chasing them, they'll take it, but that doesn't mean they want you. If they should always put the effort in if they like you. And that's just something that I didn't know. And I'm doing all this stuff. And it's just like, yeah, they took it. But they're not really that into you. They're just like, sure. I mean, it's on a silver platter. So that's really a big part. So vetting's big, making sure that you're not getting with a feminine man unless that's what you want. I've been with feminine men and I found that that's not what I want. I do like to just let go and let them lead. So a big part now that I'm dating is just watching all these men and seeing how they respond, right? And seeing how they act. And when I tell them I feel a certain way, can I trust them with my emotional happiness, right? And it's funny because I'm divorced from my ex-husband, and I realized because I was talking to him to get closure and growth, and we both got a lot from our conversation. I realized I stopped trusting him with my emotional happiness because I was unhappy about things. And when I expressed them to him, he could not come up with a solution or it wasn't working with me. So, I got to a point where like he was triggering me so bad, but it's just like I had lost faith that I can trust him, that if I feel that he would provide, right? And so it literally came down to like divine feminine, divine masculine aspects, right? And so your biggest thing is to vet. And he was feminine too, but I mean, he was, he was a good mix. He was a good provider until he did not provide, right? And so then that caused us to go, I can't trust you anymore, right? With my emotional happiness. So that is a big part, is being vetting, making sure they don't pull you into the masculine role and you sitting back in your beautiful divine feminine role and just letting them provide for you, but also being very open with your vulnerability and heart, what you like. And honestly, I have found when I tell guys that, hey, I was uncomfortable with that, or I don't really want to talk about that too soon in the dating process, I found when I told them what I didn't like, guys actually like you more. Isn't that funny? So before this, I'm like, maybe I shouldn't say anything because I don't want to chase them away. But apparently when you do tell them what you don't like, it gives them trust that they can trust you're going to say what you're going to say and give them the chance to provide a solution. And they like having a chance versus it bubbling up and you just being mad. And I learned that from my soulmate because it was just like, just tell me what you want. And I was like, okay, all right. So that's what's going on. So a big thing that I'm noticing, if you want to change your energy, is I got this from a relationship coach that I was watching, and I've been using it and it really works. She's like, go over all the guys you're dating and all your past dating experiences and write down what that person triggered in you. So one guy was really rude and I like immediately blocked him, right? But I was just like, I block everybody. So how do I do this where I don't block? And it's interesting. So I started being very conscious of that, and because I wrote it down and I noticed it. So once you write it down, that's power. Once you noticed what it was and wrote down, like, what do you do in the future? And I'm like, I'm going to express what I don't like versus immediately cutting it off. I'm going to express what I don't like and see how they react. And so I started doing that, and I told you they actually like you more. So isn't that the funny thing? But I got that because I was writing down from my past relationships all the things that were triggered, where I think it went wrong and what I could do better in the future. And the funny thing about it is every time I did that, I literally felt a shift in energy. It's like your value shifted up because your emotional intelligence shifted up. Your emotional understanding of why this happened and you learning the lesson shifted up. So if you keep on doing this, what you're doing is you're shifting up in energy. It's a literal shift. I can feel it. where all of a sudden your value and what you bring and the signal you emit is stronger and more clear, and people, you attract what your vibration, whatever vibration level you're at, you attract. This is a very fast way of elevating, and I think it's because you're writing it out and you're acknowledging what I will do in the future. You're rewriting the script and you're releasing that old behavior, releasing that energy through this programming that you're doing. And in that releasing, you're not going to have to come into it again. Truthisms. Oh, you got me, girl, right? Right? I was like, dang, oh my gosh. So I highly recommend taking the time to either journal. I just did it on a piece of notebook, okay? I think, do I have it? All this right here, that was the conversation I had with my ex, and I found out like what went wrong for him, what went wrong for me, and what I will do next in the future. And that realization, it just shifts you up. And this is the internal work. So part of this is like what you do, but a lot of it is who you are, right? And if who you are inside, you don't believe it, well, then you get what you don't get. But if who you are inside, you're taking the time to really examine what went wrong, and even dating or relationships, and work through that and go, this is how I'm going to do better. You are becoming a better person. You're becoming a better partner. You're emitting a higher frequency. You're shifting low vibrational energy out of your system. You're elevating an enlightenment and thought that raises your vibration. All of a sudden, what you are on the inside is going to attract what you want on the outside, right? And so that's a really big thing I would suggest you do, being in the divine feminine, because it is energy. And if it is energy, you need to shift any energy from past experiences so you're not attracting the same kind of people, because that energy is in you and you haven't released it or exercised it or reprogrammed yourself. So that's been pretty amazing. So just remember, the divine feminine is here. When the sooner, I'm telling you, I am not the cutest person in the world. I don't do my makeup the best. My hair is not the best. My body's not the best, right? There are people out there who excel at that. But it does not matter. Because when you act this way, when you're warm, you're expressive, you tell them your boundaries, you're free, you tell them the good and the bad, you're opening up, and they just feel that feminine energy, right? It does not matter what you look like. It really, like, it does, because there has to be a minimal level of attraction, of course, right? But they just know it's almost addicting being in this warm energy you exude, in this warm space you're holding, and you're not being reactionary because you've worked through all these things. So instead of just cutting things off or flying off at the handle, you can really just sit back and process and go, you know what? Instead of me getting mad and getting angry, I am going to tell him how I feel about it and see how he reacts. Because you need to sit and watch them instead of just trying to jump into everything. You need to tell them all these feelings to see, do they try to provide a solution? One of the guys I'm dating, and I've been dating him for about a month, and he's really cool, right? Now, there might be some issues with him making less money than me, but then again, I think he has a lot of money saved. So, and it's funny because I'm like, I like you. I don't like the money thing though, right? And I remember saying like what I would feel, and I was just like, and I just mentioned maybe, I'd be really happy, or I'd be really excited to see if you got a house. And it's funny because like 2 weeks later, he's like, I just expressed that. It was a real emotion, right? Like, I am worried about the dynamics and us making a different amount. And, and it's funny because he's like, yeah, I've been looking at some houses over in X location, right? And I'm like, I felt and expressed how I felt. And he is a provider type. Like, I don't even have to tell you that. He heard, and he's providing solutions and for you to receive, right? And so that is what you're here for, right? And so there's two things that you can do. You can level up and attract exactly what you want, or you can be with someone who shows everything you like, still providing and treating you well, but you can also tell how you feel. So instead of just cutting, he doesn't make enough money, I'm going to cut it off. Right? Which is an old behavior. But now in this feminine behavior that can observe and see, you also give someone the chance to see if they can rise up, right? So I'm not with my soulmate right now because I'm like, you need to do this. And he couldn't do it. Letting him go, right? And this one guy, like saying, hey, because I know the money in this, and there's a few things I'm concerned about, like letting him know, but like seeing if he can rise to where you are. Because some men can. They literally can rise to the occasion. So when we're in our feminine energy, we're observing, We're dating multiple men. We're not like booed up. We're letting the competition stay in. What it does is give the chance to, if there is a guy who is your possible partner, rise up into that level by you telling them how you feel and seeing if they provide it. Right. So that is really interesting too, because you can also inspire men to be better, because men will break their back and go to college and do this and get a good job for the right woman, right? And so it's very interesting when we tap into this. So this is a power, this is energy, and you can approach it however you want. I'm very strategic how I approach things. I'm very deliberate. I believe in the spiritual. So I'm like, if I'm going to start dating and I'm doing this stuff with Oshun, with my divine feminine, when I date, I'm going to date in the divine feminine way, and seeing like this energetic, I'm telling you, it's addictive. They cannot. I like, I'm in the store at Home Depot and it's just like, they're all going to talk to me. Not that I'm the prettiest, right? Now I do wear my feminine stuff, so that's going to be a visual attractor. And I do have a little bit of makeup. I just do minimal. I just like it, my eyebrows, some lashes, and lipstick. So it's very minimal, right? Barely any foundation. But it's the energy that's causing them to come around. So Signe says on YouTube, this is gold. At least give them the chance to rise by being vocal instead of just cutting it off. Girl, do you know that's what I used to do? But I'm finding I am continuing relationships that aren't bad and that people rise to the occasion or step up, or you tell them you're uncomfortable. Some people didn't care. And I noticed that. And then I decided, right? Versus other people, I said that I'm still dating. So but you saw how I provide it now because I did this work on the inside, right? Strategic relationship work. Because when I'm going over past relationships, writing what they triggered in me, but also writing what I'm going to do later, I'm becoming a better person to be in a relationship with, right? So, but you provided the space where they can be themselves, make a mistake, but know that they're going to get the chance to step up and make it better and provide that solution. So it's amazing. I'm telling everyone in the world, y'all need to tap into your divine feminine. This is a superpower, okay? Now you mix it up with wearing dresses and skirts and doing your hair and makeup, you're on another planet, right? And you also mix that with doing, like, you're at a high vibration. Apparently you're just sending out a siren song, all right? So, and you don't have to be the most beautiful. It is not about that. So, I mean, it's not about that. I mean, it's not about that at all. It's your energy and it's your inner work. If you don't want to believe that, you don't have to, right? So we will see how we keep going. Go ahead and watch the first part if you need it. Like, yes, average women get millionaires all the time. It's what you are on the inside that's going to attract it. So I hope this was helpful. I'm glad I was able to get this out a second time. And thank you, Signe, for tuning in. And I'm going to continue with the Divine Feminine. So just to end, I woke up the other night and it was 3:30 and I couldn't go back to sleep. And I'm like, okay, higher self, why? Because I don't have problems with sleeping. I'm not an insomniac. Never have problems with sleeping. So if I couldn't go back to sleep, that means there's a reason. I'm like, higher self, what is it? Because I can just ask. And about 3 minutes later, when my mind was settled, I was doing something else so the information could come through. I'm like, okay, let me write this outline to a workshop I want to do. And I wrote an entire outline of a book and a workshop of like divine feminine and dating, for divine feminine and magic for unlimited dating and fun, right? So, virtual hug. Yes, I just found you over the weekend. I'm happy to meet you as well. Oh, RM, thank you. So needed. Oh, good. I'm glad y'all are out there because this is serious. This is amazing. It's a power. Okay. We got to use this superpower. So I'm doing 2 workshops. This week, the workshop I'm doing is, you can still join if you want, is the light body activation. I just did a detox today. Tomorrow, I'm going to do the DNA activation. And then Wednesday, you don't have to do anything. You can just do the, Wednesday, you can just do the detox that I did Monday. And then Thursday, we do the light body activation. So you can still join, but you need a couple days to raise your energy because, I mean, it can be pretty intense doing the detox. It is serious, RM. And that's why I'm putting this out there, because I'm gonna say I'm loving dating. Like, I don't have to fight for it. I attract it, right? I use a manifestation. I use my dressing up in my feminine garb. Now you're gonna notice that evolution. I do it with my energy on the inside, attracting, and my relationship work. I'm just talking about my past, what happened and what I can do better. So I keep shifting up in my relationship ability, and I don't have to fight for it, right? You know what I mean? So I would just say, you're going to get rid of 80. If you're on a dating app, you're going to get rid of 80% of the guys. I just want to put that out there. You're going to get rid of them. So be expecting that. But the 20% that stays, like, I don't know. So the last date I went on, it was sushi, and he learned how to use chopsticks to impress me. So that, and I got a gift. So that is where I want y'all to be. So when I say I'm literally enjoying this, I don't think anyone says they enjoy dating, but like, you can use these powers. Their powers is energy. You could tap into it, and it's us. We just have to embrace it. So workshops, light body activation. I'm thinking the other day, like I said, I did a whole workshop. So I'll be doing a workshop in 2 weeks. It'll be divine, feminine, and dating for unlimited dates and fun, because I think this is fun. And I told my family members about it. They're like, oh, tell this king he dropped his crown. I was like, I know, right? But like, all the guys that I filtered out are like that, right? And so it's okay. Right? And they enjoy that energy that I am, it's already in us, but I'm bringing out and cultivating. And they really just feel good being around you, and you're in your little dress, and you look good. Like they're genuinely enjoying it, right? And you have no obligation to do anything. You're just in the observance mode. So I'm going to do a workshop in a couple weeks on divine feminine and dating. I'd love to see you guys in it. But like I said, I woke up and I channeled I was up for like an hour and a half, all of it, all the whole outline, everything I want to talk about, because I don't want to go over everything here. I just say high levels, but there are more details to this. So that is what I'm doing as well. And I also do angelic healing. So if you guys ever want to do a healing together, I just did a healing the other night where it's just like, this guy had back pain and he was going to physical therapist. You do one heal. So probably with him to get all the way to like back to 100% would be about 4 healing sessions. And so he did the first, and he was so surprised. He was like, first of all, I felt like I was floating in this huge piece of peace and calm when I did the healing. But then he bent, he was moving around, he was doing this and that. He was just like, oh my God, this is hurting. Oh my gosh. So we're going to do 4 more sessions. So we can do physical healings, angelic healings, but we also do emotional. The client I had last week was, it was about relationship, divine feminine issues. And it was also about, what else did we talk about? Business, right? And so I do a mixture of channeling and then healing if it's necessary with the angels. But then some things, like you asked me a question about business, you're talking to someone who knows how to run a business and make money. So, not in a weird way, but like if you look at my other platform and you Google affordable real estate investments, I'm all over the place. Like, I know how to run a big business. So it's just like all of those things get combined, but I enjoy it. It's really fun. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. That's it for today. I got to go do some stuff around the house before I fall asleep.